It's your favorite YouTuber, guys, DS Learning Finance, financially educating you guys to freedom for the beginners by a former beginner every Sunday at 3 p.m. The last week, guys, I talked about the things that you should and shouldn't spend your money on and why that is the case specifically for the money that you receive from a remortgage. If you haven't checked out that video, then I've left the link here for you guys to click on it. So this week's video is part 2 of that. And what I'm going to be talking about specifically is the strategies that I use to determine how much money to exactly pull out of my property when it comes to remortgaging. Trust me, it's not as simple as pulling out all the money that you can pull out from the property. So to make sure you guys avoid pulling out too much or too little, you get the number just right, make sure to watch this video through to the end. And don't forget to like, subscribe and share this video, and follow me on all of my social media platforms down below. The true way to actually answer this question of how much to exactly pull out of your property when it comes to remortgage is best answered when you're looking at these 3 things that I'm about to mention. 1, the purpose. 2, the LTV ratio, very important factor. And 3, the monthly payments versus income. Starting off with 1, the purpose. Well, it's very important that you get this correct from the get-go, guys. You need to establish what you're really using the money for. If it's going to be used for buying cars, buying gadgets, going on holidays, or a mixture of things along those natures, then I'll ask you guys to seriously reconsider, because liabilities like that will seriously pull your finances down. In part 1 of this video, link here, guys, or go down to the description box, I've left it there as well. You can find out why specifically you should not use this type of money to spend on liabilities. Instead, what you should be doing is buying more assets, things that accumulate wealth for you. And oh yeah, guys, be careful as well with spending this type of money on your property, on doing it up. Just because you necessarily may have done up a kitchen or a patio area or a garden doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be reflected in how much the property has increased by. So make sure you're smart with that money. Only use this money to acquire more assets. Moving on to part 2, guys, the loan to value, otherwise known as LTV. This is arguably one of the most influential factors. The LTV ratio is simply the amount of money you borrow to acquire that property divided by the true market value of that property at that moment of time purchasing it. Why is this term so important, you're probably asking yourself. And the reason why is because it tells them how much of a deposit you're willing to put up, because it means that the rest of the money the mortgage provider has to fork towards the property. So in essence, if you're willing to put up more of a deposit for a property, then it's less risky for them because they don't need to put up as much money. And the percentage contribution that they have to put up compared to what you've actually bought the house for closely relates with the LTV percentage. And just like with any other investment with them, the risk factor is closely related with the amount of interest added on top. So when your LTV ratio is 8% or more, this is associated with more risk for them. So what they do is they put the most interest on those type of loans. When you have a 75% LTV percentage, this tends to be a sort of reasonable level, so they'll give you reasonable rates. And the very lower rates, 60% or lower basically, is considered less risky for them. So they'll give you the best rates at those LTV percentages. A general rule is that every 5% you go down, you go into a lower band of interest rates. So 75% will be lower than the 80%, and 70% will be even lower than those two. And finally, the last thing is the monthly payments versus your income. You see, when you remortgage a property to acquire more equity from it, what you're basically doing is you're taking on a bigger mortgage compared to what it previously was. So this therefore is reflected in the monthly payments increasing for that mortgage and / or longer payments to cover a longer period of the debt. And it's this specifically that I want you guys to focus on. Just because your property accumulates in capital growth doesn't necessarily mean that your rental demand for that property accumulates as well. It is your responsibility to make sure that your income more than comfortably covers all the bill payments that you're going to receive now, especially because they are likely to increase. My little tip for you guys on how to answer this question is to actually get some soft quote checks on remortgaging your property for whatever amount you want to pull out of it. Get some quotes from it, guys, from multiple mortgage providers, and compare it with at least last year's monthly average income for that property. And if you feel that you're able to reasonably cover your expenses with those numbers, then maybe remortgaging and pulling out that exact money is a viable route for you to take. But if it's going to be tight, guys, and you're not actually going to get a reasonable profit, then maybe you might need to reduce it. And that's exactly how you can fine tune it in that sense, to pick a optimum amount upon which you're able to afford for how much rental demand you're getting for that property. Because the last thing that you want to find out at the end of the month is that you're not making a profit, especially with all this effort that you've put in. So those are my 3 things to look at: the purpose, the LTV percentage, and also the monthly payments versus income. Now I appreciate that there's actually a huge list of other things, other factors to consider in this case, but those 3 things stand out the most to me. If you guys feel that there's something else to add to this, then let me know in the comment box down below. And regardless, always make sure that you seek your financial advice. And that's the end of my video, guys. If there's anything I mentioned in this video that maybe you might need some more clarification on, then let me know in the comment box below. I'll be more than happy to explain it in more detail for you guys. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video, and follow me on all of my social media platforms down below. Other than that, I hope you guys have a good day. It's your favorite YouTuber, guys, DS Learning Finance, financially educating you guys to freedom for the beginners by from beginner every Sunday at 3 p.m. DS Learning Finance. Whoa, bye guys.